Ladies and gentlemen, today being the defining moment of the DPs of this country, today and tomorrow will stand out as one of the biggest political days in the political calendar of this country, especially for these elections that we are headed to in August 2022. Today, a revelation of one Rigathi Gachagua, MP right now for Madeira in Nyeri County, has risen once again and is now been nominated as the Deputy President for Kenya Kwanza. William Ruto, while doing this, actually praised Gachagua as a fearless defender of the people, a fearless defender of the hustlers, somebody who would stand his ground, and therefore he looks at him with this very kind position of one who is firm and can help him steer the country to a better position. Yes, Rigathi Gachagua came into the fore. However, there are very many other candidates who are also in this contention. Why did they make it there? Who are they? And what would have been the gerrymanderings around this to get Gachagua to this position? Yes, Azimio la Umoja has just given out a press statement indicating that tomorrow, Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga would be mentioning or naming his candidate for Deputy President. Yes, this also will form a very juicy discussion, knowing so well that there are perhaps 2 or 3 names that were floated there for consideration. And because of this reason, we still hope and believe that Kenya Kwanza has done their part. Tomorrow becomes, yes, another very important day in our calendar. That's why I say it's a defining moment for these elections. I have with me here pundits who will be speaking to us on this, and yes, we are faced with a good situation here for discussion. On my right, as usual, is one who you know is my senior in this industry, people who actually made it for us. That's why today we are here. And on my left is a governance expert who also doubles as a man of the cloth. Very interesting combination of things. But I'll give them this time to introduce themselves, and I'll start on my right.
Odhiambo is my name. Once again, I want to appreciate this audience and keep it Lolwe TV and keep it the Cardinal talk. Has it changed?
It is. Why change?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks much, Nick, and the audience. Good evening. My name is Kenyanito Ludi. I'm governance policy and advocacy expert.
Thank you very much. Now we are swimming deep into this. It's Rigathi Gachagua. No room for speculation, no who is better than who. It's now decided, and this train for Kenya Kwanza has left the station, and now destination is 9th of August 2022. Just why has it been Rigathi Gachagua? I start with you.
Thank you, Nick. It would be a very hard answer to give because I'll just be speculating. I know this announcement ought to have been made yesterday, and everybody was anxious since yesterday waiting for the announcement. It was either Professor Kithure Kindiki, who was very polished, very smart, very calm. He has got a demeanor befitting that office. But as politics come out, and as the members of the Kenya Kwanza were giving their speeches, they said they did not go for the best. They went for the optimum. So if you ask me that, I would be lying if I know all the results. But one thing that the package of that unveiling consisted of, which I really find also very important and worth mentioning to our audience, is that the Deputy President and the candidate for the presidency on the Kenya Kwanza, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, came out very clearly that before he named Rigathi Gachagua as his running mate, he gave him a mandate. He defined that office and he said, I am presenting to you the person who will chair the subcommittee of cabinet secretaries. I'm presenting to you the person who will coordinate intergovernmental affairs between the national government and the county government, a function that I have been working on. And I am giving you a person that I will sign a charter in the Kenya Kwanza constitution, I don't know how it looks like, that will set an executive order that he will sign within Kenya Kwanza that will set the operations of the office of the deputy presidency. So I think he has not just appointed a running mate, but he has defined that office with what it will be doing, and now the person who will sit there is in the form of Rigathi Gachagua. So whether he was the best, he might have been trying to say he might not be the best, but I have defined the functions that even if it was the best, this is all the same what that best would still do.
So you say to William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua befits the roles that he spelled out in his address today?
I don't say he befits, but even if he befits or he doesn't befit, he has to do those roles.
Now,
because the team that presented Rigathi Gachagua to William Samoei Ruto, right? He said that they met for almost 17 hours, and everybody talked about how they was traded in the meeting, means that even Ruto himself would have preferred another candidate to be his running mate. But the group prevailed upon him to have Rigathi Gachagua as his running mate. And he says yes, he is, because he also went ahead and gave a lot of credentials, the educational background of what makes Rigathi Gachagua. It means, therefore, that despite his other ideas about what would have been better for him, he has Rigathi Gachagua, and he has defined the roles that Rigathi Gachagua will play for him and Rigathi Gachagua to deliver their aspirations and what they promise to the people of Kenya.
Well, I want to bring you into this. What, in your opinion, do you think would say about Rigathi Gachagua being mentioned as the deputy president vis-a-vis other candidates who appeared in the public opinion to be very, very suitable for that position? People like Professor Kindiki, we had other participants as well, people who guys thought, yes, this could be a deal, given their character in person, given their educational background, given their friendship and long-standing relationship with the deputy president, somebody like Rigathi Gachagua, all the way from The Hague to date. And it's still surprising that it's Rigathi Gachagua.
Yeah, thanks. I want to pick up from where Makwete said, though I was engaged in another task, so I never had the privilege of watching the unveiling of the Kenya Kwanza the running mate. But from what Makwete has shared, though I have not listened to that clip, I will spend some time after this. I don't think anything new. The two roles that he's saying that was given to Rigathi Gachagua, because we look at the Constitution, Article 142, 43, the roles of the president or the deputy president, and then again going down a bit, you find why is he saying subcommittees and intergovernmental? These are the things he's been doing. So there's nothing new that he gave to the Rigathi Gachagua. That is the situation as it is, because Deputy President William Samoei Ruto has been chairing intergovernmental meetings, and that subcommittee. And then again, he mentioned something that he will give an executive order number 1, 2020, within these 100 days.
Actually, he mentioned 45 days.
Okay.
In fact, that will come like immediately.
Yeah, but that's again subject to other intervening variables and indicators. That said, if you look at what he's saying in the context of the present Constitution 2010, and then what he's trying to bring, there's a lot of flowery language being used, which is a plus in the Kenya Kwanza. They're good at painting stuff, because to start with, the whole of yesterday, the whole nation were kept into waiting for over 17 hours. And they said earlier that this was not something giving him and his team any sleepless nights. But yesterday, people, including him, they spent into the kesha without arriving at this. So all that glitters, the wise men say, it's not gold. Things might seem to be so nice from superficially, but under the current played a key role. Now, when you say, what do you think might have constituted to the appointment or settling on regarding Gachagua over other potential candidates, aspirants? And we mentioned that in our previous show. There are about 6 or 7 names. I think in March, I told you that it was either going to be Gachagua, and I told you that his running mate will have to come from Mount Kenya, in as much as Mudavadi and Wetangula came in. Because you look at the architectural design of a house and groundbreaking to the building and concreting and the like. So Rigathi Gachagua was at the point of design of UDA. Remember, he's been an ally of William Samuel Ruto right from second term, when he was being given duties to go and preside over Rambays. Most of the Rambays in Mount Kenya, when William Samuel Ruto would not attend in person, he would send Rigathi Gachagua. Number 2, when branded Tanga Tanga, he was the face of Tanga Tanga in Mount Kenya. Number 3, he has got deep pockets. Rigathi Gachagua is not someone, you cannot compare with Professor Kindiki. He's got deep pockets, because this is another factor. And number 5, Kindiki comes from the eastern side of Mount Kenya. He's actually a small dialect within the main, the eastern Kenya, upper eastern. But
He comes from the, is it
Taraka? Taraka. It's a small
Taraka community.
Yeah, Taraka, very, very small. Taraka as a sub-dialect. And until recently, in other spheres, they got their Bible about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's a very, very small community. Now, the value of the running mate must be someone who will add votes. So if you come to the western side of Mount Kenya, that's now the Gikuyu and the light Gikuyu stuff, yes. So that's where the vote is. I see they must have had a bit of looking at those things. That's why when Makweli said, they said they went for the optimum, but not the best. And I think they're looking optimum in terms of votes.
The numbers.
Yeah, because Kindiki has got a well resume, acres of CV and acres of whatever. But again, this is about numbers. This is not about romance. It's not about even how beautiful one looks like. This is about numbers. So the western side of Mount Kenya is largely
vote rich.
And I think that must have also constituted, because in terms of experience in Parliament, he's a first-time MP. He came to Parliament in 2017.
Sure.
Yes.
Second time.
Second time. And the other time when his late brother, the governor for Nyeri, died, he became so popular. But he's not been in that limelight compared to Professor Kindiki, who has been there and the like. So I think a number of factors play in, and in my view, I believe Deputy President Ruto settled on him just because he's a mobilizer. That's a fact. He's a very real grassroots mobilizer. He's also daring. He speaks black and white, and I think that brought some, it ruffled some feathers. Remember the formative stage of Kenya, during the earthquake one, when he was at on Citizen TV, and DP Ruto and his team were in the US, and he said now, as they were coming, when he talked of politics of deceit and malice and whatever, that they told they told Mudavadi that DP is a reserve for Mount Kenya. So, and it brought a bit of issue. So he's also very combative. He's also very, very firm, and it's said that is decisive.
It's decisive.
Yeah.
Well, now that is now the local perspective of Rigathi Gachagua.
Yeah.
We now want to look at Rigathi Gachagua in the person of the deputy president. And looking at him in this position, we want to angle Rigathi Gachagua with international responsibilities. We want to see Rigathi Gachagua as the ideal VP working for Kenya, as the second top command in terms of diplomatic relations of this country with the rest of the world. How does he qualify on this? Knowing very well that William Ruto is also somebody who is well known as somebody who's done a lot of international networks as a person. Does Rigathi Gachagua bolster this position?
Interesting question. You know, diplomacy and diplomatic channels are never created or recreated. They are already established. Okay. That even how you align your policies with the already established diplomatic channels is what matters. And I want to quickly give you an example of Suluhu Hassan, the lady president of Tanzania. When Magufuli died, Kenyans, have you ever heard of Suluhu Hassan?
Yes, had.
No, me, I was hearing about her.
Yeah, well, actually, many guys heard of her at the death of Magufuli.
At the death of Magufuli.
Yeah.
That's when she was coming in. But you see, because you are inheriting an office that has got established channels, right? Your work sits very easy as long as you don't antagonize what already exists. Kenya is not new. Kenya has got agreements signed with all the international partners that have got embassies here. And when it comes to Rigathi Gachagua, I don't know whether he will be the face of Kenya when the... Of course, he is the face of Kenya. Him and Ruto are the faces of Kenya.
Yeah, you just began well, but you're still going off what you wanted you to address to the to our viewers. Exactly. Is Rigathi Gachagua the well cut out diplomat, second highest diplomat of this country in the face of the world? Because Kenya doesn't exist in a vacuum. We exist here as a community of nations, and our relationship with them depends so much high on the two most top persons of this country. Yes, Rigathi Gachagua has been now thrusted into this. Is he somebody, in your perception, who would take us to the next level? Because you see, diplomatic relations are also built from time to time.
I don't think he would be worse, right, than what we were dealing with in 2013.
What is that?
Exactly.
What is that?
You should quickly think.
What is
we were
this?
dealing
Yeah.
with Uhuru Kenyatta,
Mhm.
the Uhuruto.
The baggage.
Exactly.
The Hague.
Exactly, with the Hague baggage. I'm telling you that was worse. And Kenya has gone those years in harmony with a lot of developments. You get? So that even if you want us to look at Rigathi Gachagua, I was wondering even before I answered you, under what lens do you want me to use to define him? Because we are coming from a situation where we are dealing with a lighter and a lighter issue than what we had in 2013. And Kenyans still elected them, and the diplomats also still dealt with them.
So, to you, is this okay?
The international community has got nothing and no business choosing whom to deal with in a country. The country elect a leader. If they say this is our leader with using our democratic systems, then that's the person they have to sit down with. The diplomats have got no choice that, oh, you elected Ruto and Rigathi and we don't like them, so we don't have interests.
Okay, so as a governance expert now, is a journalist par excellence, and I know that for sure. And from a governance point of view, because governance is a second-to-second, minute-to-minute endeavor in our lives. Rigathi Gachagua is supposed to represent Kenya at the highest UN convention, and we find him there. If you look at him, do you think he embodies what the Kenyan aspiration and the international community would be? Because now we are now looking at Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president.
Yeah, and Markovich, journalistically, you are right, or to some extent, that you are not having any mandate to choose for other diplomats or not, for whom to deal with. Because this loose concept called sovereignty. And international relations 101, there's some what you call idiosyncratic variables, some things that each one must have when you are dealing diplomatically. And one of them is character. And the character of the person sitting in the office The office is there. Those charter bilateral agreements, they're there. Some are 10 years, some are 50 years, some are 40 years. You come, you do your part, you go away.
Yes.
But that those, the idiosyncratic variables that now define Kenyanito as the office holder. And this is where you can remember when we were facing 2013, 2010, 2012, thereabout, when Renabada spoke of choices.
Of course,
Consequences.
Exactly.
And because of our unique location geographically within the region, some of those tough measures were not easy to implement just because we are a hub in the region. So under international relationships, there are some basic standards, which what can say SOPs, standard operating procedures, that we cannot interact with NIC because NIC is having a plague or the deadly disease then days, which we can now talk of even
or a different policy orientation.
Yeah. So when you get closer, you are told we can go to this extent. Now with that, it's going to be bordering what we had in 2013. 2013 was a bit heavier.
Yes.
Because that's where actually Kenyans did their wrong.
The crimes against
Yes,
humanity.
because
Yes.
at the international court in Netherlands, Hague, heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. Displacement of people, killing people, maiming, and because this kind of principle in law that they talk that one is innocent until proven guilty. Then you've got all these procedures and processes that you must undergo. That if you can appeal until that baggage is taken off your shoulders. And as a result, this has made it a bit difficult. This guy regarding Gachagua, as we are speaking, has good cases.
Not one.
Not one.
Numerous cases.
And they are touching on money laundering.
Corruption.
And stuff. So this is a bucket. But in politics, they can again come, connive together and use that as a clarion call to endear themselves to the electorate who don't understand some of these things. And they say that the system, the deep state and the staff are ganging up against us.
It's a persecution.
Let me tell you, just to
as you answer that,
yes.
Also put that together with the fact that would this be a ticket heavily burdened by corruption? Because even the
Yes.
current DP
Yeah.
has issues in court, and looking at this ticket as it is, what does it give to Kenyans? Persecution aside, but now you're looking at it from the optics of perception
And good governance.
public opinion, and good governance.
One, I want you to observe the concurrence that Kenyan has just drawn on my side. So it's not journalistic. Even from its policy point, Kenyans decide who their leader is, and you must deal with that leader. It didn't stop Obama coming to Kenya and embracing these guys who were accused at the international court. So even that diplomatic lens was shattered. So what are we dealing with when we talk about corruptions and all these allegations? Are they international cases or local?
Oh, no, these are local.
Exactly. So we are dealing with very minor issues here. And
corruption being a minor issue.
No, that is wrong.
I'm saying, a local.
Are you done playing corruption?
I'm not down. I'm not down. And don't misquote me. I'm not down with playing corruption. But I'm saying, when you are dealing with local cases, it is not as enormous a baggage as when you are dealing with international cases that involves the life of humans, that involves treasons, that involve,
Crimes against humanity.
Crimes against humanity. So if Kenyans are very unique. When they were told choices have consequences, they decided to make a choice. And the international community had to deal with that consequence. It's the other way around. So even this one, Kenyans always get a way to establish mechanisms of self-sustenance. It might not be very good because corruption actually is the biggest cancer that eats this country. But I would be lying to say that this is the baggage of corruption. Because even the other group, right, cannot profess to be clean.
Yeah.
Actually, they cannot profess to be clean. So when we talk about corruption, all Kenyan leaders are always
having that smear of corruption.
Yeah, all those states.
But
even the NYS. If you look at the guys who are put in the who are in the NYS scandal, most of them are on the other side.
And on that
But
issue,
I don't like, actually, when we talk about corruption, we just need to really plead to our leaders to sanitize, not even sanitize, to think the value of corruption, the value of economic losses, the value of what they gain individually against the people that they pretend to lead.
when you speak of consequences,
I just want to stop you.
Okay,
You will continue right from there
Okay.
because we are going for this commercial break. Viewer, wherever you are, we are trying to dissect. We are trying to look into Rigathi Gachagua, the person, Rigathi Gachagua, the DP, should they form the next government. We are looking at the entire office of the deputy president, and we're looking at the person and the character of the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. So there's nothing so personal about this, but we're trying now to analyze and understand just what is in store for us going forward in the next 5 years or 10 years. Who knows? This is a democracy, and anything would still happen. They will form the next government, and we'll have to live with it as Kenyans. So it is our prerogative as the electorates to also want to know exactly who are these that you are pushing for these very prime positions in our country. We are going for this break. Once we come back, we are at the point of influence. When we come back again, we'll be looking at what Azimio La Umoja would be giving, and more so, just why did other candidates fall by the wayside. Yes, welcome viewer. You see, I'm so happy we were just having a hearty discussion here during the break about other raft of issues that we've debated here. You know, it's still an emotive issue, but yes, Rigathi Gachagua, a consummate debater. Rigathi Gachagua is such a good analyst and a very good person, blessed with so much high skill, or blessed with so much skills in terms of his oratory capacity, and we know he can speak it out the way he wants it. Is bold, is fearless, is somebody who is firm, and I think that also might have contributed to why he is there. You are speaking about consequences just before we went to this break. What consequences were you bringing on board?
Yeah, thank you. Before we had a break, Lolwe mentioned that the consequences were never there. There were mere threats, and because we have got sovereignty, each country is sovereign. It's a republic. It can dictate who comes in as their CEO, and that is it. That is a principle across in international relations. But you find, if you look and analyze the Uhuruto, both 1 and 2, indeed there are consequences that we faced. One of them, they to look into east from west, and that's when we had China stuff. We had all those kind of stuff, and as a result, we are still reeling in pain as a result of those consequences. We got to the point of getting loans, both Jubilee 1 and Jubilee 2, more so Jubilee 1, the Uhuruto, which, for instance, SGR construction was like 7 times or 3 times. If you talk of the Kalana Kulalu, again inflated, no return, no yield. If you talk of even now taking this port up to the dryland port, and even the documents which were used to guarantee the loans, up to date, no one was there. So these are the consequences that Mr. Makawiti, we are keen as governance that should be ventilated and told to the Wananchi. Not superficially that there are no consequences of Obama to come, yeah, but you find that economically, because there's what political economy. Politics and economy go together. And as a result, the Uhuruto, because they were not so much welcome in the West, So traditionally, we had always relied on the West, they went to the East, and the ramifications, the sanctions that come with it was a bit too much. And to date, we are still facing the consequences, per se.
I beg to differ. One, the fact that we went to East was just a policy shift. It's not because the World Bank and IMF stopped advancing loans to Kenya because Kenyans elected Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
Yes.
We will be lying. Because even in the process, if you look at the profile of Kenyan loans, IMF and World Bank advanced Kenya a lot of money. But not as much as we got from the East, because the East was the infrastructural development that is not taking place only in Kenya, but across Africa. Yeah. So that's just a policy shift. So we would be, you know, asking for too much on this program for Kenyans to believe that going to China was because we elected Uhuru, Ruto, and the West shunned dealing with Kenya. The West cannot shun dealing with Kenya because of our strategic location. The UNDP and all that, and the, you know, the UN, we would have seen those if actually there was a consequence. But there's no office that was relocated from Kenya because we elected the two.
No, that is not the case. What I'm saying is that politically, a policy shift in terms of economics, they go and get a lot of loans from China East, which has had a point and a platform to pilferage the global South Africa, where Kenya is also falling because of what? They give some terms and conditions which are a bit easier. They are not so good at good governance. East has got nothing in terms of the rights of even the labor people, children, whatever. So that's why they to go East. And then we find a number of things played out in this thing. Even the people who are brought here in Kenya to work on the SGR and the like were prisoners. And that's right. And so many things, which you look at that, you find the entirety of it, the sum total.
It's a different debate.
The West did not stop coming to Kenya.
It's a different debate because it is really Ruto 1 and 2 that we also dealt with the Eurobonds, right? And the Eurobonds, we didn't even see what they did. So what was the element of the governance that the Eurobond disbursers gave to check how that money was being used?
But IMF, remember, and World Bank, Britain institutions gave some kind of bare minimum, and they even read the red flag that look, you guys are over borrowing, you need to make sure that this and this are done. So, but again, they to push and push and push, and as a result, even some in legislative arm, they were even remember the time there was a big debate during one. Even on the floor of the parliament, or the raising the essential tax on the basic commodities. And this, as a result, we are now today buying a packet of milk at around something, about 7 shillings. But consequentially, it's because of choices that people made.
Well, that debate sounds so juicy at a level that we might not be able to get. But we can debate it, of course, but for this particular sitting, we were looking at Rigathi Gachagua. Yes, I want us to confront. We've looked at the diplomatic Rigathi Gachagua and his position. We are looking at this ticket in terms of economic recovery. Let's put it very frank, guys. We don't have an economy existing right now. If there's one, this economy is so punitive to its subjects as Kenyans, to an extent that now it's becoming something that it's an enemy to our very existence. It's threatening everything of our survival at every angle. Do you think this ticket would solve this problem? Because this now the questions Kenyans want to ask, and they'll be answering them at the ballot on the 9th of August. This ticket, Makowiti, can this ticket really midwife an economic recovery? Yes, we are told just last week that the economy bounced by about 7.2%, which is the highest growth ever since Ruto began. You can't even feel it, you can't even explain it. Yes, but the indicators from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics point at an economy that is growing where, how? But then that's now a debate for another time. We are looking at now, going forward, is this ticket a potent ticket to make economic recovery?
If we compare it with which one?
With what we have?
We have how many tickets? So that we see is this ticket vis-a-vis this other
context.
one.
we have a team that is governing right now, Who and Ruto. Apparently, Ruto seems to be swinging on all the sides.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
now is coming in with the new dispensation. We're asking, this mess that has been there, with the help of Rigathi Gachagua, can Ruto now help us mend this collapsing economy?
I think it's even not very honest to talk about Ruto in the government of left-right. Because the government that is finishing the race is a government led by Uhuru Kenyatta.
No.
Who's now...
Hold on. We are talking about a very weighty matter here.
No, that's the truth.
And we know for sure. You also know that even this week, Ruto attended a cabinet meeting as a deputy president.
Exactly.
So there's no way you can detach. Hold on. You cannot detach Ruto from the governance of this particular administration, because the presidency is a ticket. As you explain that, don't detach Ruto from
it's a they're conjoined.
Because you are also trying to say that even the ministers who attended should be able to answer the context of the question you're asking. My point is, the cabinet meeting is called by the chair, and he calls it at his own convenience. Actually, he called it almost after 2 years of not calling it. It means he owns it. Right? Someone who owns cabinet and calls it at will is the person who's running the country. You got my point? And that is the president. That president is now the chair of Azimio. It's on the other side. That's what I was asking you. When you're bringing in the context of, is this ticket able to revive the economy? I asked you, which two tickets are you talking about? Which one are you comparing with which?
I'm talking about.
And then you now.
I'm talking about our present situation as a country. And going forward, every Kenyan is hoping that this position that we are right now can be corrected such that they can even feel better and proud to be Kenyans.
Now
I'm asking this question.
Correct.
Can Ruto and Rigathi administration deliver this to Kenyans?
We have now put the context clear. I don't want you to really think that it's Ruto who brought down this government. The government
is
was
down.
The government actually is down. That's why Kenyans are suffering. The government was led by Uhuru Kenyatta. There's only one executive pen in this country. He signs everything right, he signs everything wrong.
That is
he must be held accountable. Even for the wrongs that anybody does at the primary level at Ogera, where I come from, the chief must answer to the
president.
Yes. And the president must take culpability for a child who drowns in River Ogera, where I come from, because of that chief. My point is, responsibility is at the top. Now, to answer your question, whether they are able to re-engineer
an economic
recovery that will make life better for Kenyans, that will depend on the policy framework on what they plan to do. But as Kenya is, if you get a person who will carry on with what is going on now, then Kenyans will suffer for long.
Let me try.
We are yet to interrogate the policies because they are yet to open them up. There's always what is called bottom up. But it don't just come from the bottom to up. What are the mechanisms that you are going to bring? We are yet to start interrogating those things. Once they are exposed and they are made clear, then we can see, are they practicable? Are they implementable? If you say Kenyan economy has grown by 7.2%, right? Who has felt the benefit? Could be the 10 billionaires, right, who are controlling the economy against the millions who are suffering. So that a few people are feeling the benefit, which is very wrong. I don't know whether that's why the engineering of bottom-up is coming, but I don't know. What should I compare it with so that I become more objective and give hope to Kenyans that if you elect this person on 9th, then you can have hope. Or if you elect this one, be sure to continue in your problems.
He's tried to bring in what happened many years when was it Tanzania was having a diplomatic problem with Kenya, and one of the ministers in Tanzania, I can't remember the name, said that Kenya is a man-eat-man society, and then the Attorney General then, Charles Giorgio, rebutted that Tanzania is a man-eat-nothing society because Kenya had 10 billionaires and the rest were beggars. The thing is, without putting semantics and theories, yes, in the spirit and in the letter of the Constitution, there is one president, the chief executive officer, the commander-in-chief, who gets the sword. But in reality, Ruto was a co-presidency. And with that, there has been a discussion that the question you asked, Mama Koite, that can this pair bring forth economic reconnaissance from what? The question you asked. From the current, you can't administratively. So the current administratively, you hear Ruto isolate himself from the economic quagmires, but raises himself high with the what? Successes. You'll hear him talking with done electrical, whatever, installation, we've built SGR, we've built whatever thousand of kilometers of roads, and then after they say people don't eat roads. So when you ask, when they are enjoying power trappings is part of the government. When the government has failed, is not part of the government. And that is the hypocrisy, that's the deceit of the highest order. So when you ask, can the two bring economic revival? Number one, the greatest problem that this country has faced for the last 59 years or so is that of corruption. At the time we're getting our independence, we are talking of three enemies: ignorance, disease, and what?
Ignorance, disease, and poverty.
And poverty. We are still where we were because of corruption. So the two who are going to be at the apex of the leadership of this country have got dents, have got baggages to do with corruption. And from where I sit, I fear a lot. I don't see them bringing major economic shift. It could be as a verbal utterance to at least massage the ego of the voters, but in actual sense, we'll wait and see.
Well, we'll wait and see. As they say, our moment here is wait and see. I think next moment that will be so monumental will be on the 9th of August when we'll choose between either the Ruto ticket, Ruto Rigathi ticket, and Raila and somebody else ticket that's not been mentioned. And with that, perhaps we have to switch gears a little bit and then look at the Azimio wing where Raila Odinga is expected to name his running mate tomorrow. And he's zeroed down to Kalonzo Musyoka, Peter Kenneth, and Martha Karua. Yes, now that Ruto has given out his number 2, and we all now know it's Rigathi Gachagua, we must also look into what Azimio has in store, and perhaps this would be an inviting discussion, given that we have two guys from Mount Kenya region, the west of Mount Kenya, and we have one from the lower eastern, that is Kalonzo Musyoka. One has been with Raila through the last 10 or 15 years as a deputy, and each time they performed extremely well. Perhaps sometimes they say it's taken from them by other imaginary forces that whoever it is, they know. But we are looking now at, should it be Peter Kenneth, should it be Kalonzo, or should it be Martha Karua vis-a-vis Rigathi Ruto? What would it be? Like, yeah, the ballot, very interesting. That we'll discuss at another time, but let's discuss the possibility of having the three.
You want to start with me or start with
It's you.
Okay, viewers, this is just my thinking. I can't say that I'm so sure about it. But the winning ticket for Azimio is Raila Kalonzo. If they do any other, then all Raila supporters should actually expect Raila to go home. And I don't know why, for once, Raila lost.
Just repeat that. That's catchy. Huh?
Yes, it's my thinking, but I really think it's that.
You're thinking, yeah. I just want to repeat
because
that.
Raila already lost Mount Kenya. Even without the Rigathi choice or Kindiki, because the support already shifted
With Ruto.
With Ruto. If he again loses the Kaba vote by not appointing Kalonzo, then he can as well pack and go to Bondo. Sadly. And that would be very sad, because I would have wanted to see how Raila runs an economy or helps Kenya to recover from an economic debt. I don't know why for once he lost the authority to choose his own running mate. And that's why people are calling him a project this time around. Raila chose Kalonzo when they were in was it?
CORD.
And
NASA.
And it was overwhelming. So who is it that is now saying subject Kalonzo to an interview?
So you feel the potent ticket here is Raila Kalonzo?
If you give Raila Kalonzo as a running mate, then Ruto and Gachagua has some work to do. But if you give anybody, either Martha or Kenneth to Raila, Ruto, the deep state is going to have a very difficult time manipulating those results to favor Raila.
Are you insinuating that Kenyans will not vote? Is the deep state that will be
Deep
voting?
state
No.
doesn't vote.
I have to, if I have to quote Kigemi, sometimes back in one of the interviews, they say the government always has a role.
But Kigemi is just one individual in that government. He cannot be the
No,
government.
he was not an individual.
Okay.
The individual was holding serious positions.
Yes,
That happens.
Yeah.
And that's why even Baba and Kalonzo have always been crying that they win it and it goes. They win it and it goes.
It disappears
somewhere. So you cannot ignore that. But if maybe these people, and that's why in 2007, the deep state had a hell of a time to reconcile, because the margins was a little large in favor of Jacob against Kibaki. That's why we had a lot of problems. When the margins are too big, the deep state cannot get themselves involved. Now, for the Kalonzo ticket and Raila, they can smile a bit behind the corridors if they have to do something mischievous. But if they have to let the Kenyans have a free will, it is possible that that is a tie that can go to the wire. If Raila chooses Kalonzo. But if he chooses anybody else, Raila can as well and his team back and go back to Bondo.
What's your feeling?
Well, he is...
Martha, Kalonzo, Kenneth.
Yeah, Makweti is rooting for Kalonzo. So that is his thinking. I agree. But I will be a bit hesitant to take the lens of Makweti. One, where is the support base of Kenya Kwanza? It is central. It's Mount Kenya and Kalenjin. Western is gone because of what was just revealed, the MOU. And because Mudavadi was given an non-existent position. But now coming back to Azimio, why didn't he use the known formula? Why didn't Baba walk the same old path of just choosing from nowhere? But I think it was intentional, because even this of Kenya Kwanza, I believe them as some secretary, some committee doing some work behind the scenes. On this time, they decided to do it in the open, to make it participatory, to bring forth ownership, to ensure that things are done in a different way. That alone is going to attract some votes. Number two, it is a formula which has been done even in the West. Even when Obama was running,
Politics is local, my friend.
Yeah, but it's local. So that you can hear all those people who were interviewed at Cardinal Hotel. I said that whether I'm appointed or not, I will stick here. So that has brought some element of what? Ownership. This is our thing.
The flower girls.
Well, don't call it flower girls. They are.
So who's ticket?
It's a bit
Israel.
Yeah, I mean,
in the rest of time.
He's struggling with something here.
No, I'm not struggling. When you bring in, it's both Kema, because Kalonzo is from Lower Eastern, and the two are from Mount Kenya. The two Raila Lonzo has been tried in the past. That's a fact that you start at least from somewhere. But you know, our last discussion in the show that a female candidate or running mate,
So it's matter.
will entice another electorate, will attract some, and you've been seeing even the endorsement and support coming across. Now the challenge is, as you're speaking, Ruto is at 70% among Kenya, and
maybe more.
maybe more. And if is at 25 right now, and if the running mate was come from Mount Kenya, if it can increase it to 40%, and we will bear. I mean, not we, as you will bear. So I am really looking forward to
A female,
well, as a gender and advocate, I would advocate for the first time in history a female vice president.
Well, because at the end of some time,
But
it's getting even now very juicy, and this is the Cardinal talk show. You know, they speak it like it is. These are varied feelings, varied opinions, analysis, and we bring it like this for you to understand exactly what it is. It says a female running mate will excite particular kind of masses that traditionally have never been excited. He says it's been working in progress. Why fix what is working for Raila and Kalonzo? Because it's been working anyway, according to him. I don't know. We would have continued even further, but because of time, I want to say thank you for the panelists. You've been so great, you guys. It's been so interesting, so incisive. I hope and wish that these guys who've been watching it, including the candidates,
but now,
because of time, I know next week is there. I'll ask the bosses if we can add more time for Cardinal talk for maybe 1.5 hours, maybe something like that. But for you, the viewer, yes, the chicken is home for roast, and time for us to make decision has come. Remember, this decision will live with us in the next 5 years, and as a people we have that inherent civic responsibility to make it right this time around. We know what we are going through as a people, we know how we are suffering as a people, we know what we want as Kenyans, we know how to get it, but now we want to give it to messengers. These messages we want to give out. Yes, on this other side is Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto. Tomorrow we're gonna know it will be Raila Odinga with whom. I want us to take this opportunity to go out there and look at ourselves inside out as a people, and then decide what is good for us, our democracy, our grandchildren, and our country at large. This is the most important thing that we're looking at. Whether it's Raila or Ruto, Kenya will remain Kenya. But we must make a choice. Unfortunately, we must make a choice. All of them are ours, but we must make a choice. What choice will we be making? That's why we bring this gentleman here with a lot of information to help us decide and make information where it's applicable. Thank you very much, guys. Until next week, I know we shall meet again.
Thank you.
And to you, the viewer,
Cheers.
it's been nice having you along. Thank you very much. Till next week.
Good night.